Hello and welcome to tutorial number 9 on the feeling, which is on the sub. Open Citrus. It's a sine wave, 3 octaves down, with a little bit of sine shaper distortion, and a punchy volume envelope. Add a CamelCrusher with a little tube distortion and compression to beef it up. A sharp low pass to get rid of the excess, and a transient processor for a clicky attack. This sound was made in Citrus. I always make sub in Citrus because there's really only one way to make sub, and Citrus does it very nicely with its wave shaping sliders. The cleanest sub is always just a plain sine wave and nothing else. To make it a little punchier and help you hear it above everything else, I'll almost always distort it to add some high frequencies. But the single sine wave is the most important part and is common to every good sub bass in the universe. All I did was take operator 1 and pitch it down 2 octaves. Then add a little bit of sine shaper distortion. If you look in the main tab of the original, you'll see I also pitched it down another octave here for a total of 3 octaves. It would have made more sense to just pitch it all the way down here and then only do it an octave here, but you know, it's the same difference. If you aren't familiar with sine shaper distortion, take a look at this fruity wave shaper. The sine shaper in Citrus, Serum, Massive and anywhere else is just a wave shaper with this kind of shape. If you don't know what wave shaper does, it's just the graph of a formula which maps a given input amplitude on the x-axis to a given output amplitude on the y-axis. If that sounds complicated, hit F1 to open the manual and read it, because I promise it's actually extremely simple and a very useful plugin once you've wrapped your head around it. The only thing left in Citrus is to add a slight volume envelope to make it a bit punchier. The sustain level of this envelope is the normal volume I want the sub to be, but the beginning is slightly higher to give it a noticeable, clicky attack. Exaggerating the attack is going to be a motif throughout this video, so I should explain that it's all to make the notes the sub is playing easier to hear. In this track, the sub isn't just to reinforce a meatier bass like usual, it plays its own melody I want the listener to be able to pick out easily. Sub frequencies are always hard to hear, so the clicky attack helps make each note more obvious. If I wanted to take this to the extreme, a common technique is to have a pitch envelope that quickly falls. This adds a very noticeable punch at the beginning of each note. To prevent myself from dying here in the envelope section trying to get the pitch range right, I can just turn this P knob, which stands for pitch envelope, and scales the range of the modulation sources here in the pitch tab. So if I turn it down, the pitch fall is less, because our envelope has been scaled down vertically. You may also notice when I turn the pitch envelope knob very high, it sounds just like a kick drum, and well, it is, because this is the first step towards synthesizing a kick drum. It's always just a sharp sine fall like that usually. So while this pitch envelope is a useful tip to make it punchier, I didn't actually use that in this bass, so goodbye. As for the effects, the first one is a CamelCrusher. This is mostly just for its tube distortion, which adds a little bit of high frequencies and makes it easier to hear in the mix, particularly on speakers which don't have much bass. I also use the compression because CamelCrusher's compression is very extreme and creates a big sharp attack at the beginning, which again is to help accentuate that volume envelope and give it a nice clicky attack. Camel Audio, who made CamelCrusher, unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, and their website is gone, so there's nowhere to download CamelCrusher. Except from in the description, where I've added a link for you to download this plugin if you want to use it, because it's very good and it's a useful, simple distortion plugin. Next, I have a very harsh low pass, not the first time I've made that mistake, to cut out any excess high frequencies. Now this makes this whole distortion farce a bit pointless, but I only really wanted a sine wave with a little bit extra. And the third and final effect is a transient processor to accentuate the attack even more. And with that, we're done. See you in the next video.